amazing. And so we actually keep that in your notes. You can put it into OneNote. This is a great video if you want to have some fun and really see what you can do.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Hey, I just realized I forgot to start the recording at the beginning of this conversation, so it came on somewhere in the middle of what you were saying there.
Okay. Sound like people never hear me speak enough.
Well, I want them to be able to play it back. What you were saying was actually extremely important. I'm sorry I didn't catch it all, but the quick summary is there's a lot more to transcription and translation than just English language learners, but folks who don't speak at all can benefit from it, and in large part because they not only have to have the visual aids, but also the translation. And so I thought it was a really cool story. And so I'm really glad that you brought that one up, Dave. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
And if you guys go watch that video, you got to go watch it, because one of the things, there's a young lady on there who talks about, this is what's going to allow her to be able to communicate with her peers out in the real world when she leaves the university as well. So kind of cool. I mean, I think Rochester Institute or Technical Institute is I think they said that they are the largest mainstream sign language school or something like that, Dave, wasn't it? It was some really they have a ton of need and still can't keep up with it.
Correct.
Yeah, very cool. I like that one. It's an inspiring story, if nothing else. You guys, I put it as watch this one because I really do think it's worth your time to go and watch it. I'm going to come back to this with I noted that this all came originally from the hackathon, and in particular around learning tools. And I'm going to turn that back off. Every time I turn that on now, it's set to automatically kick off in Spanish. So I'm going to always use subtitles. We'll get rid of that for a minute. Okay, so what I want to do is talk to you guys a little bit about where do we start with this. Inclusive classroom is is a great concept. The first sort of tool that I want to make sure that I show to you guys, actually, believe it or not, is Dictate. It turns out, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but even when I'm in here in OneNote's web version or web app, I actually have the ability to turn on the Dictate feature. So we have speech to text everywhere inside of Office. So it's in OneNote Online. It's in my OneNote app itself. It's also in Word and PowerPoint and even in Outlook. So you can use speech to text anywhere. It's built right in. In fact, Windows itself has speech to text capabilities. What I want to do, though, is also make sure that I show you guys the Immersive Reader, or those learning tools capabilities. And so hopefully you guys have seen this before, but this is right through the OneNote web application. What I'm able to do is to come in here, and I've got some tips to clear. Apparently first time I've opened this since I did my updates. And so inside of here, what I can see is I took that exact same page that I was on and brought it into a more focused view. Now, the cool thing about this more focused view is I can actually come in and change the colors depending on what challenges I might have. It might make it easier for me to be able to read it. In fact, one of the things we can do is turn on Comic Sans, which most people kind of go, hey, that's not, a lot of English teachers don't like it, different things like that. But it turns out for early writing students, so when they're young, this is the way they make their letter A's and their letter G's and their letter E's. And so there is some tremendous benefit here for early learners for sure. And then we kind of get into the fact that we can do things like change the spacing on the letters to make it easier to read, but we can also come up here and change the text size with a simple slider. So I can make it easier for me to see and work with. I can also come in and highlight certain parts of speech. So I can click on nouns and verbs and adjectives, even the sort of unsung hero adverbs, right? The one that nobody even knows how to pick out of there. The cool thing with this actually is that even if you have some kind of a inability to distinguish colors, then you can actually click show labels and we'll actually put a label over each of those words for you. In fact, what we can do is say, hey, you know what, maybe purple is a difficult color for you. You can change it to blue or whatever other color works better for you. So we really try to be as inclusive here with everyone as we can be to make it work. We even have the ability to go in and do to distinguish syllables within words. And all this is happening through sort of machine learning, where we did the OCR against these documents and stuff. So bringing that in, that makes it much easier as teachers are working with students. In fact, in the real world, what we tend to see is teachers with sticky notes sitting down beside the students and helping them to go through this, which is a problem because it's just not scalable. They can only work with essentially one or a very small group of students at one time. And it's also not very inclusive, right? There's no way to do it with sticky notes without sort of calling those students out or separating them from the rest. So that's one of the big benefits here as well. Finally, one of the things that I haven't shown yet is just the built-in reader itself. So it can actually play back, although you're not hearing at the moment, it's actually reading me the audio, which is great. I can leave all of the other things on, or I can turn those off for focus. In fact, what I can do for focus even further is to turn on line focus. So this is like the good old-fashioned reading ruler, where you take a piece of paper, you cut a line out of it. Now a student can sort of focus on one line at a time. In fact, this is even easier to see if we just kind of switch that color for a minute. And so you can see, even as I have it reading back to me, I can have this line focus in place, right? I can expand that if I wanted to multiple lines, all those types of things. I have a picture dictionary. In fact, I have something that's really kind of neat here. Let's do this. Let's click on rivers, for instance. And I can see in here the word rivers. I can even push a button and it reads to me rivers. So I get a picture version of that, but I can also see it. So I can come up here to say, get my mouse to scroll right, even to say mountains or valleys or whatever, I'll read them. But check this out. We talked about English language learners. What if I could come in and just select another language? Let's say Spanish, since that was the language we were working with before. We'll go with the Mexican dialect of Spanish. And now when I click on that word, I see not only mountains, but also montañas, right? And so when I click on it, it actually plays that back for me, still giving me the picture dictionary as well. So certainly a big help for a lot of folks as they're learning. I can even do some other really cool things. In fact, I'm going to switch over just for fun here to the actual OneNote desktop version. You see the exact same documents we were on, just showing you it works in both of them. This is actually a scan from a Harry Potter book right here. So you can see this isn't even typed text or anything. But when I jump into Immersive Reader, and this does work through the web version, I just wanted to switch over because I can. But one of the things I can do here is, this is just, I was doing conversion by word before when I was showing it to you. But now what I can do is actually convert the entire document. So you can see I've converted the entire document into Spanish now. In fact, I can actually up here at the top switch back and forth really easily. So again, as we're talking about English language learners, I have the ability then to set up to come through here and be able to switch back and forth and still have it read to me. So some very, very cool things that have evolved. Even if you had seen learning tools in the past, these are some new capabilities that we can do. So again, anybody can scan in a document, take a picture of that document, be able to use Immersive Reader to be able to participate with it. Actually, while we're in Immersive Reader, and given the fact that we have a short amount of time, I'm going to jump forward to math for a minute. Just because one of the things I really like while we're in OneNote here is I can use digital inking inside of math, or inside of OneNote. I can use digital inking inside of Word, all kinds of things, just to show you, right? I mean, it's not hard. I can actually even do digital inking on the web now as well. And so we've actually seen some great work that was done here in Texas just a couple of weeks ago with a young lady who was unable to attend regular class due to her disabilities, and ultimately she wasn't able to utilize a keyboard because she just didn't have the motor skills necessary to do it. However, quite interestingly, it was kind of fun to see she is able to write with digital inking quite well, and in fact, all of a sudden for the first time was able to write entire papers, to do these things. And because it will do ink to text, it didn't make her appear any different than any other student when she did it. There were just some great stories that if we had time we could go into, are really cool. But in this case, if I simply select the text that I've already drawn here and come up and hit the math button, it'll actually recognize that math formula, right? And automatically allow us to then come in, and I could do ink to math, where it will just change it to an actual written formula like you see here, if that's what I need to do, like the story of the young lady I told you about from a couple weeks ago. Or I can do something like tell it solve for R. So it actually can come up and figure out, here's what the actual solution is when I'm solving for R there. But I can also tell it to show me all the steps using the quadratic formula, which is great. It shows me all the steps that it took to actually solve that problem. Super helpful. But guess what? This is kind of smushed together and hard to read. And again, we talked about that immersive classroom side of things. Well, guess what? Look at this icon right here. There it is, the Immersive Reader. And so I can take that entire step-by-step piece and bring it into here. And what's super impressive about this is, I'll turn it back so that's just a little bit easier to see, is that this actually has the ability to read to me all of this, even, I'll see if I can turn it up enough you guys can hear it.
Squared equals cap A. Subtract cap A from both sides. Pi r squared minus cap A equals 0. This equation is in standard form. Bx squared plus bx plus c.
So you can see it actually can read very advanced equations. These equations that are on here, it can actually read those to me accurately, right? And so really kind of cool in how it all works, and it's just built in. It's not like I had to do anything special. This is straight from text that was written out, or I could do it from things that were typed in, either way. So I just kind of had to show those. It was really cool. The last thing I'll show you is we were talking about translation and stuff. I almost forgot to show this. Again, this is just some really cool stuff. It turns out that one of the capabilities that I have inside of here is the ability to translate text, right? And all I got to do is find that button. Here we go. So the Microsoft Translate, and check this out. I just say translate page. It automatically detects what language it was in and converts it to English for me. And look, it actually created a whole separate page. So it didn't actually destroy the original page at all, but just created a new one. I'm going to remove that so my next demo is set and ready to go. Check out this page. It has a whole bunch of languages in it. And while it's not 100% perfect, it's pretty amazing when it auto detects and then converts it all back into English. I thought that was really cool as well. So just some neat, quick little things that I thought were worth kind of showing off to you guys as we looked at that. And so that's the immersive reader piece. I want to switch back over here and keep us moving forward. So this is, I'm going to make this so you guys can see it. It's a bit of an eye chart anyway, but really what this is state measured reading speeds and how Immersive Reader has had real impact. These are scientific evidence. This is proven results, right, that have been measured, and we can now prove that this technology absolutely helps students in grades 1 through 5 in this case with what their results look like. And so really, really impressive stuff. Again, you guys can download this yourself and go through it, but just wanted to show you this isn't just subjective. It's very, very valuable. This is a study with British dyslexics folks. You can go in and learn more about it. And what you'll see is it talks about how it helps drive their success in life, not just in education. It's about first grade Immersive Readers. I'm going to move through some of this because we kind of talked about it in a hurry as we were going through it there. And then we talked a lot about it being global, working in every different language, all those types of things. You can find lots of evidence to that. Now, this is part of the things that, now again, looking at fourth graders, I understand some of you guys are in higher ed, some of you are in K12, but this is really impressive in how it has helped to drive up the test scores. And what we're able to do with comprehension scores in particular as we work through that Immersive Reader. So kind of cool. So this is, really, I think the most important thing, and this is what I was trying to say before, is the really important thing about all of these tools is they are built directly into OneNote and Word and PowerPoint and, even Outlook. And so the reason why that's so important is because that means that these tools are, completely built in, they're mainstream, they're non-stigmatizing, and they're free, right? And so that's really what I hope to drive home in this conversation, is that everything we're showing you is exactly that, right? It's built in, it's, all non-stigmatizing, and of course, all free for all of your folks. So you guys all have this stuff today. None of this is in the A3, A5, any of that. So all of you, even if you have teachers who just went and got the self-service tenant and there's no management of anything, have access to all of this stuff. And even if they don't have the full Office Pro Plus, there are a lot of these things that are available today inside of the all the web-based components. And so one of the pieces here, let's see if I have it open or not. I may not. Okay, we'll come back to that. Is a flyer. I put it into the channel itself that will show you. Let's see. Here we go. So learning tools flyer that shows you all of the things that are currently available within each of the different products. So you can see the read aloud, the spacing and fonts, the syllables, all those different pieces in OneNote, Word, Outlook, and other things. So you can go check all that out at aka.ms/learning tools as well. I just wanted to show you that there is a document that you can use for reference as you're working with others in your organization. I think there is a better one right here. This is my favorite one. This looks like every chemistry teacher's dream, right? But this is sort of a prettier version of that same content, which is a lot around which components of the learning tools are available where. And so you saw the ones we just talked about, but what you may not have seen is some of the things that we can do outside of the Office applications themselves, the things you see over on the far right-hand side. So I wanted to bring a couple of those into the conversation here real quick. So one of those is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a company that Microsoft recently purchased. And one of the things that we've done is each topic inside of Flipgrid is now fully integrated with Immersive Reader. So I can take any one of the cards inside of here, simply be able to click a button, and look, we're exactly back into the Immersive Reader just as you've seen before, with all the same capabilities that we talked about previously. So very, very cool. That's built right in. And you'll notice I'm just in a web browser. I'm in Edge, right? This is just built natively into Edge, the Immersive Reader, your ability to do this. In fact, if I were to pull up any kind of news site, let's grab this one, right? I have no idea what I'm getting into here, live demo, right? But it turns out that for most of our news sites, we should have the ability to click up here once it loads, maybe. There we go. Once it's all fully loaded, I have this little button for reading view, which takes out all the ads and the noise and everything else and puts it into something that's much easier to read, especially if you happen to be a Ric Flair fan. This is a great one. So it's definitely easier to read, but I can also come up and use Immersive Reader here. So right click and just say read aloud. I can control the speed and their voice and everything else. Now I run mine fairly fast, but the reason why I have it running so fast, I use this a lot. This is how I do read my news articles, or I have them read to me, and it just steps through all this as a reading back to you. And so that's built again right into here. But you'll see I have more than just read aloud. I also have all those same sort of text options we were looking at before. Do I want it white or black? Do I want to make the text larger? I have the full learning tools, background color capabilities, all of that. Text spacing, those things we talked about before, grammar tools, everything built right in. So had to show you that stuff because I love it. Now let's jump back over here to a few others. We looked at this. This is an EPUB file. I know some of you guys use EPUB files in your classrooms. Turns out that you have all those same capabilities right here inside of an EPUB file just as well. So I can come right back here and you can see all of that right here at the top of the EPUB. Oh, click the same button again. So you can see all that stuff is right here. All right, and so what about a PDF, you say? Well, that's a really common thing, but PDFs are so laid out and just crazy in what they're doing. Look at this page. This doesn't even look like typical text page. Is it really going to work here? Well, let's test it and see.
Learning Tools provides greater equity through access to learning materials, perhaps the most compelling
That
works.
worked perfectly.
For learners. Education.
I think that's pretty amazing stuff, personally. I mean, like if I could ask you guys to applaud, it would be for that. I mean, the fact that it works fine in EPUBs and PDFs, and this is all just happening in Edge. And this isn't even a new version of Edge. I'm not even in the Chromium version of Edge. This has been around for a while now, making sure that you guys are aware of it. The reason why, again, just pointing this out, that this is so vital is because this is not some special tool. I didn't install JAWS or do anything else with this. It's completely built in. It's completely mainstream. It's completely non-stigmatizing and completely free. So those are the things that I like about it. There's nothing to buy, nothing else to do. It's just kind of all there and built in. And that means that this works outside of just your classrooms. It works for all your faculty, staff, and outside in the real world. So for you, speaking and communicating with people, being able to utilize these tools to better communicate, I think is pretty amazing. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording at this time. There's a whole bunch more, guys. Actually, just so you know, if you come into this deck, I didn't even touch on really some of the really cool stories on things that people have been doing, or the other things that you can come and look at. So go download those decks. Here are the 2 URLs that I gave to you before I actually started the recording. So I want to make sure that you guys have this, aka.ms/inclusive deck. The guy who built this deck, built these demos that I'm showing to you, is Mike Tholson. You can actually reach him on Twitter at mtholson. You can also get even more inclusive stuff at aka.ms/inclusive ultimate. And so just so you guys can see what's there, I will click on that, and then we will You notice how Office 365 ATP scanned that link before it opened it up? Right? Just saying that more security built directly. Just had to show it off because I could. But you'll see we have all the links to all the stuff that you could ever want. So blogs and video and inclusive classroom and lots of that. And I gave you guys lots of stuff that launched just today. If you go into our Teams environment and go to the community call channel, you'll see a whole bunch of links that launched just today, guys. So I'm going to stop the recording. Actually, it looks like John has a question already. What about immersive reading in Edge? So that is what we were doing, was immersive reading inside of Edge itself. Now, it's called Read Aloud, right? But it's definitely there. It's just called Read Aloud. And so you can see it here. It's just highlighting it and reading it all to me. I also have the ability to have some controls around that. And then as you saw in some of those, that I could go in and change the whole background and do all that. And the way I was doing that was like on news pages and stuff, coming up here and going into the reading view, right? And so that's exactly how I do it. In Word, here's another great example. I was going to stop the recording, but I got to show you guys this. Not my email. It's Word document. This is really cool. I almost didn't show this part. This is so awesome. You guys have all seen like where things get underlined because they're spelled wrong, stuff like that, right? And now you've seen in the new one, we actually have where it has some help for you, including the fact you can come in and have it read to you, each of the different words, so you can see which one be right. But check this out. Here's something you may not have known about. Being able to go here into view and click on focus mode. So now I can bring it out, get rid of all the tools and everything else. Sorry, that's not actually what I wanted to show you here. Where's that? Reference, that's where it is. It is the, no, it should be under review. Sorry, confusing here, trying to hurry. Check documents. So check this out. Under review, check document. Or you can just type it in search is what I should have done. You see this? This is kind of cool here. This is the new editor feature. And I can see that I have 2 spelling errors and 5 grammar errors. And check this out. If I click on spelling, it shows me where it's at in the document. You know, it gives me context, gives me all those things I just saw. I can come in and choose read aloud or pick a particular word, however I want to do that. It automatically moves to the next misspelling in the document, highlights it over here, gives me all those details. I can ignore it, do all those things. But I can also switch back and forth between them, right? And so then I can jump over here to my grammar mistakes and find out more about those. In fact, I can have it read the sentence to me so that I can better hear or understand what might be wrong with it. I just thought that was some super cool stuff that it was able to do that. So anyway, I think you guys ought to check that piece out for sure. And you've got translator built directly in. If you didn't know it was there, that's improved dramatically, changed completely from what we had before. And of course, when you're in Word, you have that dictate right here as well, which you'll see on the front page on the home tab of all of the primary Office applications now, at least Word, PowerPoint, and Outlook. So those are the main things I want to show. I'm going to stop it now, and then I'll answer any other questions that you guys might have.